सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. Verse number 3. We are in the middle of verse number 3. भवता जनता सुखिता भविता निजबोधविचारणचारुमते कलयेश्वर जीव विवेकविदम् भवशङ्कर देशिक मे शरणम् भवशङ्कर देशिक मे शरणम्. So this is a very important verse because for two reasons. One is the student, who is the student Totaka, is broadcasting that his teacher will be extremely famous long after the body of the teacher has gone, that because the teacher and the teaching in his mind, and like it should be in all of our minds, is one and the same. The teacher is the same as the teaching. So the teachings as propounded by Adi Shankara as as an important link with the tradition will continue long after Adi Shankara, the Nama and Rupa, has gone from the world like a comet. So it will continue. He has that confidence, and he makes a prophecy. Bhavata janata suhita bhavita. Your fame, you're going to be very famous because by you all the people in the universe will be made happy. And we know how difficult it is to keep oneself happy, let alone the significant other, let alone anybody else in the universe. And so the meaning of this is not some kind of a codependent samsaric happiness. And what do I mean by samsaric happiness? That which is gained when the ragadveshas are fulfilled. When what I want, I get. And then what I don't want, I have managed to ward off. There is a little, baby happiness that is born out of the situation, that the feeling that I'm able to control my world. But it is effervescent, and it is gone because it is dependent on mithya, and we talked about this at length. It is dependent on mithya, meaning it is dependent on that reality which is finite, which I'm kind of resuscitating. I'm always giving CPR to the nama rupa in the universe. That's why it is so the hands are tired, karmendriyas are tired, because how many things, it's almost like one is like an emergency medical resuscitator technician. The fellows who come when you call 911 ambulance. And those people, they know a few things. I mean, they're supposed to take the person to the hospital because but they know a few emergency techniques, how to shock the person back to life, how to, I mean, and if there is a pulse going, how to keep it going for a little while longer to take them to transport them to the medical facility. So it's almost like every jiva in the universe is like a emergency technician who keeps on, addressing every nama rupa. Of course, the nama here, there, there is a personal interest in the nama rupa because it's all the nama rupas that one loves, and those things in which one is in love with, one keeps on resuscitating. Clear, shock, clear. Come on. And then again, it comes with a little bit of a lifeline. And then again, and that is also due to Bhagavan's grace. And Mahavishnu is tired. He says, what are these people doing? Lakshmi says, just let them be. Just change the channel. Look at the life story of Adi Shankara and tune into something else, Lakshmi says. This is what it is. Even Bhagavan is tired of keeping on extending that grace to keep the Namarupas that one is in love with alive, and to keep those Namarupas away which one detests. So the Raga Dveshas are kept on, they are kept constantly. The Raga Dveshas are what? They are the resuscitators, they are the tubes, they are the life support, they are what is, shaking up each and namarupa, each and every namarupa to be alive. And the whole world of nama and rupa, name and form, is just word and meaning. Pot, word and meaning. Thought, word which has a meaning. And then what else, pot is word and meaning, thought is word and meaning, cat, word and meaning, mat, word and meaning, hat, word and meaning. A whole series of words and meanings cons in this body, word and meaning, this mind, word without meaning, because mind is mindless. And everything is just word and meaning, word and meaning, word and meaning, table, word and meaning, chair, word and meaning, computer, word and meaning, Zoom, word and meaning. Zoom is a word whose meaning nobody knew even before 2020. They just thought, I'm going to zoom in and out. That's all they thought. They took it literally. Zoom, new word and new meaning. COVID, fatigue, new word with a new meaning. And then they have made new words. And then now there is another word. What is that word? COVID yet, meaning somebody who doesn't follow the COVID rules. COVID plus idiot. This is English samasa. Okay, English, how to make compound words in English. COVID yet. COVID goes back to Pratipadika, Kovi, and then idiot. So then they cannot be doubling. So then there's only one. Like Nir plus Rajanam becomes Ni Rajanam. Like that, the double R is gone. So here, COVID yet, meaning the one who doesn't wear a mask, the one who is behaving in idiotic ways in the middle of a pandemic. And COVID fatigue, new word, new meaning, word and meaning, word and meaning, word and meaning, word and meaning, vaccine. Who had thought about vaccine after the children were vaccinated? Nobody thought about vaccine. Word and meaning, curve. I mean, curve means what? It was only of interest to people who knew trigonometry, geometry, like that, curves and all these things. Now, curves. And what kind of curve? The curve that has to be flattened. Word and meaning, word and meaning, word and meaning. Look at the whole Jagat. Nothing, the whole Jagat tik raha hai. It is just standing on word and meaning. Nothing else is there. And it is with these words and meanings that one really wants to hold the word and meaning. And certain words and meaning one is drawn to, and then certain other words and meanings one want to just avoid. Cockroach, word and meaning, yikes. Why can't you give some nice example? Cockroach, snake, crab, scorpion, all these things are words and meanings we want to, be away from. Unless it is a Vedanta class and we're just talking of our beautiful rope snake, then it is okay. Then everyone loves the rope snake because it's helping me understand. Word and meaning, word and meaning, word and meaning, word and meaning, just throughout. Just series of words, series of meaning. Nothing else is there. And then we take these words and meanings so seriously. And then along with these words and meanings, crafted all kinds of, is crafted the whole of one's life. The whole of one's life. And then the whole of one's life also, one is completely focused on keeping these words and meanings fed, making these words and meaning into infinite Brahman I, into the self I. How is that possible? How is that possible? The word is supposed to die, the meaning of it goes. When the name goes, the form goes, name has no meaning anymore. It's just in the annals of the history books, that's all. Aurangzeb, one cruel king, lived, died. And in his wake, he destroyed so many things, destroyed so many temples, destroyed so many libraries, all these things. This is his claim to fame. So, but it's gone. It's gone. It comes and it goes. And what comes and goes is not I. This is Vedanta 001. That which comes and goes is not I. Oh, really? Then who am I? Vedanta 101. The one who is sitting here and saying everything comes and goes. That is I, the witness of all the comings and goings of various words and meanings, the rise of new words, like flattening the curve. New words with new meaning, which we didn't even know. In 2019, yeah, early 2019, January or something, if somebody had said flattening the curve, nobody would have understood. They would have thought this person is mad, and so many other things. And we didn't even think about disinfectant. Certain words were there which had to be resurrected from the previous times of cholera, TB, etc. We didn't even know all these things. It was there. Now, with the vaccine coming, and then this pandemic will be just some kind of a remembered nightmare, and then all these words will phase out. Similarly, all the nama and the rupa in the jagat, all the things in the jagat, they have, they have gained a kind of a amplified presence in one's life because of non-understanding Atma Ajnanam, and because of the children of Atma Ajnanam. What are the children of Atma Ajnanam? Twins, Raga Dvesha. Because of the twins, Raga and Dvesha, they have gained some kind of an amplified presence, an abiding presence in one's life, and due to which there is a true two-pronged approach to things in the world. And technically, yesterday we talked a lot about adhyasa, a superimposition. And here, two more types of adhyasa we'll discuss today. One is Shobhana adhyasa, a kind of a projection that is partial projection, a projection based on an idealistic understanding of what that particular thing that one is falling in love with actually is. So one sees the Jagat not as it is, but as one would like it to be. Shobhana Adhyasa. In the beginning, everything is greeted with Shobhana Adhyasa. And especially in, open Western cultures like North America, everybody is so waxes eloquent. Oh, this is the best restaurant. Is it really a best restaurant? No, it's a hyperbole. It is Shobhana Adhyasa. People just talk like that. Oh, this is the best, east or west. This is the nicest thing that has happened to me. Really? In your whole life of so many, years, is this the nicest thing that? Are you kidding? This is the nicest thing that has happened. Well, and so this is Shobhana Adhyasa. You meet a person, oh, one says, I'm falling in love. And of course, the emphasis here is on falling, meaning, meaning I have no control over this Shobhana Adhyasa. And then what? And Puja Swamiji would always say, first, I love you. And then I allow you to go. I need some space. Why? Because the second adhyasa, it doesn't take too long after living with somebody for the second kind of adhyasa to creep in. If the first kind of adhyasa is Shobhana adhyasa, we can all guess what the second kind of adhyasa is, Ashobhana adhyasa. Ashobhana means there is another kind of a partial projection upon the things in the world based on dvesha. That is Ashobhana Adhyasa. Shobhana Adhyasa is based on raga, how I want things to be. And then Ashobhana Adhyasa is based on dvesha, how I'm afraid that things might be. So my fear is projected onto certain names and forms, certain upadhis. Upadhis means that which is equipped with a name and form. So certain upadhis I greet with trepidation, and somebody who looks suspicious, how do you say that they look suspicious? No, in my mind they look suspicious. Why? Because this person who is saying that has some kind of a wrong or a bad association from previous memories. Smriti Rupa Adhyasa. Smriti Rupa. This is what Smriti Rupa. Adhyasasya Smriti Rupa Rupata Asti. Adi Shankara says. For Adhyasa, there is a kind of a, it is based on something seen somewhere else. Anyatra. Anyatra darshanat. So some other memory and something seen somewhere else is easily transferred, transposed, superimposed onto another thing that is free of those qualities, whether positive or negative. So similarly, some desire that I want to be taken care of, that I want this kind of a person in my life, leads one to basically uh, uh, see something that is not there in that person. And after some association, one is brought back to see the dveshas predominate, and then one sees all negative qualities in that same person. This is what the whole thing is. So that's why this is how the if one is not Adi Shankara, and if you still want to have Charumati, this Nija Bodha Vicharana is very needed. So a Charumati, meaning a beautiful mind, is the one from which the Shobhana and Ashobhana Adhyasa has been wiped out. You just take things as it is. That is why one has to Ishvarize the universe. That is what is said in the second line. See everything as a manifestation of Ishvara. That which is infallible, that which has to happen is Bhagavan, and the whole universe is Bhagavan. And then so I get out of this dharma, adharma, good, bad, beautiful, ugly, all these dyads. These dyads keep one firmly fixed in samsara. And so when I get over those dyads, something wonderful happens. It is so beautiful. Something wonderful happens because I'm able to be in tandem with Ishvara as I view the world. As I view the whole thing, I just take whatever comes. And that is why the devotion is needed. That is why Karma Yoga is needed. And you'll be in the Jiva Yatra text, you'll be studying a lot about Karma Yoga. So I'm not going to go into that in too much detail, because you've been studying Vedanta also for so long. Karma Yoga is action for the sake of self growth. And if you do something for the sake of self growth, then the first thing to do is Ishvararpana Buddhi. First thing to do is relinquish the authorship of the action, drag in the proxy actor. Where will I find an actor? Ishvara. Bring in Bhagavan and say you are the author of all actions. Bhagavan is not going to say, I don't have time to be the author of your actions. What are you doing? I was enjoying a cup of chai in heaven. Hey, Bhagavan is not going to say that. Bhagavan is going to say, thank God you woke up. You go have some chai now and let me do what I'm doing. Thank God you understood that you are not the author of the action. Abba, I have been keeping on telling you this in the Bhagavad Gita. Karmani eva adhikarahate ma phaleshu kadachana. You are not the author of the results of action. And then if you use your brains a little bit more, if you're not the author of the results of action, how are you the author of action? How is that possible? No, no, but I can act. Yeah, I'm just telling you that. Because if I take away both authorship and result of action simultaneously, you will not get out of bed. You will just turn over and continue to sleep, the sleep of ignorance. So, yes, there is some free will, but it is under the constraints of the laws of the universe. It is all inhibited. Uninhibited free will belongs to Bhagavan. The upadhi, this name and form called jiva, operates with some kind of a free will, but the circumstances of exercising those free wills is already set, is already there, is already set. And so therefore what? So to be Charumati means to gain that objectivity. It's not enough to be Samadarshi. Yesterday we talked about Samadarshi, Samaloshtasma Kanchana, meaning the one who has the equanimity. That's one part of it. But here today, what I'm talking about is to be a yathartha darshan, to see things as they are. But how do I see things as they are? I don't know. I don't have that objectivity. Pray for it. Have a practice of praying for the objectivity. And in the meantime, practice giving up giving up the desire to control the results of action, and Ishwarizing the action, because it's all on the level of the I, on the level of the individual. Ishwarize the action, Ishwarize the result of action, and then see yourself as a participant in the whole scheme of things, which is a series of infallible laws. This is Ishwararpana Buddhi, a Buddhi that is devoted to Bhagavan, and a buddhi that is devoted to finding out that this Bhagavan is non-separate from I. Nishchayatmika buddhi is Charumati. This is Charumati. This is the ingredients of how to be a Charumati. And then, because the buddhi that is given to Nija Bodha Vicharana, a buddhi that is dedicated to seeing the truth of oneself, that buddhi is very, very blessed, because in choosing Vedanta, one is following one's final and ultimate and the absolute purpose of one's life, and therefore all the things fall in place. You try it out and see. You commit to Vedanta and then everything else falls in place. You keep wondering, how am I going to take these talks? I have so many things to do, but you end up taking them. And you there is space, there is time, there is desire, everything kind of coalesces to make you understand. It's amazing, things come together. Your life becomes more and more, there is more accommodative to Vedanta. It happens because you're doing what you're supposed to do. And then, so this Charumati, this beautiful kind of a mind, which has Samadarshana, which has equanimity, from which all the raga, the dveshas are suspended, and which has objectivity, free of Shobhana and Ashobhana Adhyasa, is extremely necessary to understand the truth of Vedanta, which is expressed in Totaka's wish in the third line. Kalaya, make me. First, make me a Charumati like yourself. That is Adhikari. Adhikari means a qualified person to gain these teachings. Make me into a person who's qualified for these teachings. Because I'm not qualified for these teachings. He's very humble and he's going to say that, yeah, very overtly in the coming verses. But you alone, because you are the teacher, you alone can give me. What can you give me? You can give me this one, the knowledge of this oneness. Between who? Jiva. Jiva, as you know, is piva, full of pet peeves, and always crying and playing a violin, because it's got these painful tones, or even in the violin, or some kind of eh, what's that, sonorous but sad tones. I don't have, I want, this is the jiva. I lack i lack means what? I'm lackluster. I have no luster, says the self-shining jiva. and I'm so far away from Ishvara. I don't know how to spell Ishvara, and God has abandoned me. God is giving everything to everybody else except me. Why me? This is the jiva. This is the sad, mad, bad upadhi called jiva. And then on the other side is who? Ishvara. Even when you say that, many people, when they say God, their head goes up, eyes fly upwards. Thankfully, we don't have that problem in the Hindu tradition. Because that the one thing one knows is that you call, which you call Bhagavan, is everything, is everywhere, starting with this. starting with this Ayogya, starting with this, you know, Ayogya means what? Undeserving person, the one who thinks I'm undeserving. Starting with this body, mind, sense complex, everything is Ishvara. Like I told you yesterday, every name and form is inhabited by Ishvara. So when the name and form dies, Ishvara doesn't die. Ishvara is what? That consciousness, that self-revealing consciousness, which is all knowledge. Because if I say consciousness, it's not understood. And people start thinking conscious, unconscious, all these things, and they get into some psychological terminology. That is not what is consciousness. Consciousness is awareness. Awareness is the only way to understand awareness is I am aware of myself. And when you make that aware state into the very being that one is, that awareness. And when you say awareness, it when you unpack this consciousness, this awareness, you see that it is indicated by three words. One is that, you can't have awareness floating. Awareness always rests in a conscious being. In a being, the awareness is non-separate from the being. Awareness is not floating around. Awareness has a being, and that being is called Sat, existence, that we call it. In fact, it's such a sad translation, existence. So when I say translate Sat as existence, I have to work very hard to not become tense. Okay, because it is not a translation, but for the sake of, because our words are finite, and with finite words we are indicating the infinite. The infinite doesn't need to be described because it is you, and you are aware of yourself. But yet there is ignorance because the I is partially known, like even a rope lying in the garden at twilight. I know I exist. Just like I say in the garden when I go, I may say, oh, there is something here. But what it is, don't ask, because then the all the wrong answers come. Snake. And who are you? I'm an idiot. Maybe not COVID yet, but just an idiot. And I am unloved. I lack. I want. I don't have. These are the answers that come. These are the answers that come. And so therefore, you know, therefore what happens? Therefore, there is just this wall between the I that is understood wrongly and the whole universe. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara are all separate. Everything is separate. Other jivas separate from me. And then what else is separate from me? You know, Jagat, of course, is separate from me. That's why I want to hoard every name and form and collect it to become mine, to become one with me. Ishvara, of course, who is Ishvara? Where is Ishvara? One doesn't know. So therefore, this, when you say the whole world is nothing but Bhagavan, this is what we say, that Bhagavan is just a, a being. A being means there is existence. That's why I can say flower is. The isness of the flower belongs to Satchidananda, that Sat. It doesn't belong to the flower. Yesterday we saw, because the flower comes and goes, the flower is the upadhi to, quote unquote, as it were, house this existence. There are many upadhis, names and forms, which house this existence. The existence doesn't need to be housed because it is limitless. So therefore, we have to amend ourselves and say the existence is as though housed in so many upadhis. Just like space exists in so many rooms in your house. Living room space, you call it. Bedroom space, bathroom space. And now there are all these 3D models of homes that you can see. And then what do? They remove the roof and they show you the space. And then you find it so funny. One small little area with walls. and it is called closet. Another one with a slightly bigger water closet, meaning a fancy way of saying bathroom. Okay, and 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 then room to laundry room, living room, walk-in closet, bedroom, all these things. So there is space in every room, but the space doesn't want a room to, the space is not dependent on the room. In fact, it is the room that is dependent on the space. So likewise, this existence is everywhere, is everything. And it is as though housed in so many bodies, so many minds, so many akaras, so many forms, so many names, so many, in short, so many upadhis. Sorry, there is no translation for the word upadhi. Yeah. Upadi, you can say if you want. But that's all there is. So, upadhi, this is what it is. And then, so this is so, these are the conditions. The first condition is something must exist. If the flower doesn't exist, then what is it that exists? That existence is permanent, because when I say absence of flower is, the is has outlasted the upadhi called flower. It is very clear. And even with a person is also the body mind sense complex. Ahankara is also an upadhi. And so when a person dies away, passes away, crosses over, you say, so and so, unfortunately, is no more. And the word is prominent. The is has, the upadhi has departed, is always is. And that is Ishvara. That's why the first two letters of Ishvara, if you write in English, is, is. Is Ishvara. And that Ishvara further resolves into I. First letter of Ishvara, I. This is what it is. English way of describing Mahavakya. That is how you go, you know. And then, so this Sat is one word that indicates this consciousness called as Brahman, Brihatvat, because it is limitlessly big. It as though can house so many upadhis without undergoing any change, without giving up anything of its own nature, which is simply to exist, simply to be. And this beingness is without itself any name and form, which populates all names, all forms, as it were. And then when you say being, it's not a being that is without self-awareness, without sentiency. This is a sentient being. That's why I said it's a conscious being. It's a sentient being, and this is what is called chit, because it is aware of its existence. Even a dog is aware of its existence. It even knows its name. And you call it Moti, common Indian name for dogs. Okay. Yeah, you say Moti, Ajao, it will come, it will look. And then Moti meets a cat, a roadside cat. Rrrr, because you are different from me. That awareness is also there. I'd gone to somebody's house for bhiksha, and then the child in the house was saying, my dog is so smart. I just have to say CAT, and I have to spell the word, and it recognizes. I said, no, not possible. How will dog know spelling? But this child was very confident, and there was the dog sleeping on a rug somewhere in the house, in the room, and whatever its name was, the child called the dog, and she said, CAT. It was in a deep sleep, this dog. It woke up and started to bark. So that awareness is there. It's aware of itself. It's aware of something other than itself. Very much there. And in the human being also, that awareness is there. And that awareness is knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of its existence. And it being everything, knowledge of everything. This is what the whole thing is. Knowledge of its existence is what is called chit. I know I am, And this knowledge never becomes I do not know. Even if you say I don't know what's going to happen next year, that means what? I know that I don't know. Now we get into this whole area of a delightful branch of knowledge called ontology. How do you know what you know? How do you not know what you don't know? Even here we are constrained to ask, how do you know that you don't know? I know, and I don't need to read a book. I don't need a PhD to tell me I exist. I don't need a PhD to know that I know certain things and I don't know certain things, and I know that I don't know. That which I know, I know, I know. That which I don't know, I don't know. And what is all? All means what I know plus what I don't know is all. So if I know that I don't know, and if I know what I know, that means I'm all knowing. I hope you don't want me to repeat that. Okay. Yeah. So just enjoy it. I know what I know. I know what I don't know. And that is all knowing. This is what it is. What is the definition of all after all? All is sarvam. All means there are many things in the world that I'm aware of. And there are many things in the world that I'm not aware of, but I'm aware of the fact that I'm not aware of them. So this is all knowing. It's all knowledge. In fact, there is nothing. This chit is just knowledge. Knowledge of everything in general, sarvagnya, and knowledge of everything in particular. This is Ishvara. This is what it is. So when I say flower is, what is this isness without flower knowledge? Flower knowledge is. Flower is, flower knowledge is, and then what? And then this is never ends. The never endingness of this is called Ananta Ananda. Satchidananda, Satchidananda. Every cockroach, Satchidananda, unfortunately. Yes. Every mosquito, Satchidananda. Stingray, Satchidananda. Even a rock, Satchidananda. Oh, I could understand cockroach, but then rock, yeah, rock is Satchidananda. It cannot broadcast its existence because the Sukshma Sharira is missing. That's all. You can say I rock, but the rock cannot say I rock. That's the only difference between you and rock. That's all. That's all there is. And so the whole thing is Satchidananda, Jiva, Satchidananda. And then what? Ishvara. Oh, what is Ishvara? Satchidananda. Ishvara also Satchidananda. Jiva also Satchidananda. All that is there is Satchidananda. The Bheda, the difference is only from the standpoint of what we call Upadhi. Upadhi. That Upa is near. So that which is kept near is called Upadhi. Upadhi. That which is near. Near to what? Near to this awareness. So one has got a natural sahaja. What is that? A natural tendency to identify with the body and the mind. It is built into Ishvara's Srishti. It is built into the creation to identify with the body, to identify with the senses, to identify with the mind. And that I-ness, therefore, is transferred from Satchidananda to this body mind sense complex. So I say, this is how tall I am, this is my weight, this is my height, these are my thoughts, this is my raga, this is my dvesha, this is my prejudices, these are my preferences, all these things. This is the I. So the I is crafted partly due to what is called sahajatadatmya. Sahajatadatmya means a kind of a naturally occurring identification with one's body and mind. Naturally it happens because if you don't own up this upadhi, then what? Then who will take care of it? You have to take care of it. Because if you are hungry, the neighbor is not going to bring you food thinking you must be hungry. The neighbor is not aware of what is happening in your stomach. It would be nice if that happened, but that's not what happens. You are the trustee of this body. You are aware of this body. And then again, in terms of the laws of the universe, if you are pinched, the neighbor doesn't say ouch. You say ouch, why are you doing this to me? If you are pinched, the neighbor doesn't come and say stop pinching me. Thank God. We don't want this kind of oneness. Yeah. This is good because I take care of the body. I'm responsible for this body on the empirical level, on the transactional level of the everyday. I have to bathe it, I have to dress it, I have to feed it. If it is sick, I have to take it to the doctor. I have to do all these things. I have to protect it from the pandemic, wear a mask, and do all those things. I'm the one who is doing it. Nobody else is doing it. And so this Sahajatadatmya is there. But this Sahajatadatmya is, because of Atma Ajnanam, gives rise to what? Gives rise to Bhranti Jatadatmya. Bhranti, Bhranti na jayate, that which is born due to delusion. The identification with the body becomes an identification with the finite. And this is due to Atma Ajnana. So, this example we have done many times. So instead of saying Bho Guru, which is how to address the Guru, if somebody stands behind the Guru and tries to scare the Guru, Boo Guru. And then let us say that the guru is startled and jumps because somebody comes and says boo guru. Bad Sanskrit, should be bho guru. Okay, yeah. So boo guru, somebody says, and let's say the guru jumps, and then the student concludes, oh, the guru is still identified with the body, not a jnani. Would this be a correct conclusion? I don't think so. Why? Because if you tell the guru this, the guru is going to turn around and say, please go do some, vijijnasasva. Please go do some inquiry on what jumped. What did you see the jumping? Oh, I saw your body jump. Aha, got you. So the body jumped. I didn't jump. Why did the body jump? Because of sahajatadatmya, that natural tendency of identifying with the body in order to protect it from certain things. And if the guru's body didn't jump, okay, it doesn't matter, it didn't jump. But that is not how to judge whether one has disidentified with the body or not. That is not how to judge. And there are some, what should I say this? Drama spiritual leaders, dramatic so-called gurus. I have seen. You just have to go to Rishikesh, where half the population is dressed in orange, and then or Haridwar nearby. And then in Haridwar, I saw the one person sitting by the wayside, and all holy ash everywhere, and then the ladies feeding him. And they said, our guru is so exalted, no, not at all any identification with the body. So otherwise he will just starve to death. He has no identification body. We have to feed him. We have to give him this food. And so they would just take one roti with little sabji. they, they were taking to the mouth, and he was just sitting there with his hands like this. But once it went to the mouth, he nicely chewed. Okay. So this this shows that the body disidentification is very selective in this case. I students saw this. All kinds of things we have seen. If you've gone to Haridwar and Rishikesh, you have seen everything. And so nicely he would chew. And then if somebody offered something he really didn't like, yeah, he would just, and sometimes he saw many people are standing and watching, he would let a few drops of tea drool from the mouth and pretend that he's not even swallowing, and somebody would just hold his neck and then tilt him upward and put things. Constantly eating he was, I tell you. Yeah. That is how to, that is what the thing is. It was a big show because there was a mat spread and everybody was supposed to put money for the never ending Bhiksha fund. Okay. Yeah. So we don't need all these shenanigans. We need to be yathartha darshinaha. We need to have this objectivity. This is the objectivity. that there is a certain all pervading association, identification with the body, so much so that, when if I hold my hand like this is I, which is this identification is skin deep, because it is wherever the skin is, the I is. This is I, and then what is this space? Not I, not I, anatma, atma, anatma, anatma, atma, anatma, atma, anatma. So arbitrary. This is what is called sahajatadatmya. This is, and when you recognize it, the bhranti goes down, the delusion goes down. And when you understand that Jiva and Ishvara are one, then it is not at the level of trying to pretend you can't eat or drink and nicely chewing it once it goes into the mouth. That is just a charade. You don't need this charade. It's a cognitive thing. Even despite this identification with this small upadhi, I am still one with everything, because the identification is not real. It is as though. It's an as though identification born of what is called karma. That is another kind of identification. Karmaja tadatmya, sahaja tadatmya. So why am I identified with my body and not with your body? That is because this of certain karmas. The answer is that. That is why one person has got a certain parentage, a certain body to call oneself, a certain mind. And that is what it is. Why are they born in a certain place? This is all karma jatadatmya. And that also you cannot do anything. You need not drop it. You cannot drop it. And it's only dropped by knowledge. That's all it is there. And bhranti, the only thing you can do something with is this extra identification. I am, 5 foot 8 inches tall, so that is exactly how that is the space I occupy. That is the bhrantija tadatmya, a wrong identification. You know, tadatma has become tadatmyam. The this is I. This is I when it is made into a abstract now. This is I-ness. This much is I-ness. Tadatmyam. So in other words, to translate it elegantly, identification. So the wrong identification doesn't come because of the circumstances of one's birth, doesn't come because one is endowed with a body, mind, sense complex. For that, you need an extra seasoning to have the wrong identification. The wrong identification comes from not knowing the truth of one's nature, not knowing the truth of this upadhi, and that is why it is called bhrantija tadatmya. This is what has to be fixed. This is the only thing that can be fixed. The question is how? Kaise? How will this happen? What do I have to do in order to make this happen? Pray, pray to Bhagavan. Kalaya Ishvara Jiva Viveka Vidam. Mom, make me into the one who knows this oneness. Because this oneness, is it transcends the upadhi, transcends all upadhis. The oneness is not thankfully established at the level of upadhi, because then we will never get this oneness. We will never have this oneness, not possible at all. The oneness is elsewhere. Elsewhere means not location. Cognitively, we have to look for this oneness, not from the space of identification with with this body mind sense complex. That is not where the oneness operates. And there is a philosophy, kind of a modern, our modern purva paksha, something that we that is our sparring partner, called the new age movement. And in this new age movement, it is some kind of a half baked vedanta, you know little bit of vedanta, little bit of ragadvesha, little bit of aikya, ekata, oneness, little bit of oneness, rest of the time two-ness. And they want to mix, this new age people want to mix dvaita and advaita into a salad and enjoy that. How is that possible? Advaita means the oppositional, that which is oppositional to Dvaita completely. That is what is Advaita. It's like saying, I want to have light and darkness together. I want to enjoy. Are you crazy? Where there is light, there is no darkness. In fact, the concept of darkness is extremely iffy. If you say darkness is the opposite of light, wherever there is light, darkness cannot exist. That means it doesn't even have a leg to stand on. Why do we define darkness? Darkness has no definition, because that which is verily non-existent, how can it have a definition? Much less a being. So it's an interloper. Similarly, ajnanam, that is standing here in for this example of darkness. This ajnanam, atma ajnanam, is an interloper, it's an impostor, it's an eclipsing due to wrong understanding, and the wrong understanding being dismissed, the oneness which is already there is discovered, uncovered. That is what we have to see. This is just this is just wonderful when you see this. So then, at the level of the upadhi, there is bheda. Definitely, there is bheda. And the new age people, this is what I was talking. They have some kind of a half baked Vedanta idea. Somehow they have understood, due to some grace operating over time, I am God. Tasmat. This Tasmat psychology is very interesting. Therefore, logic. Okay. So, Tasmat what? Therefore, I should be able to be all powerful, almighty. I should manifest more money. Why do you want more money? No, because I'm God. But I'm not able to manifest anything. God is able to manifest everything. This is a fundamental error. This is the fundamental error of wanting light and darkness at the same time, of keeping the ajnanam going, keeping it going, fattening it up, and then keeping on feeding the ajnanam and feeding the ahankara, and at the same time, taking a few pages from the Kathopanishad or the Kenopanishad, and then saying, and then, decorating the body with the words of the Kenopanishad is not going to do it. The understanding has to be fundamentally transforming. That is what the whole thing is. What is this understanding? You have to see. It is an equation. Tattvam asi. Tat means Jagat Karanam Brahma Ishvara. Ishvara Tvam asi, you are. It is not saying Tvam Bhavishyasi, you will become later. And then it is not saying you'll become later, or Tvam Asit. No, you were not at some point. No. Tvam Asi. Asi means you are that which is the cause of the universe. You are Ishvara. And then, of course, the jiva squirms with discomfort because the Dvaita is being shed, and it's very itchy. One cannot live in one skin. One has to slough off this duality through this teaching alone, because it is not at the level of the actual casting off of the upadhi. That's not what it is. Thank God. Otherwise, already so few students for Vedanta. Imagine if you had to cast off this body, mind, sense complex as soon as you gain the knowledge. There will be no students at all. Vedanta would come with a skull and crossbones. Danger, warning. Attend the class at your own peril, because it leads to self-decimation. So the person is sitting in front of the teacher, hey Guru, maybe has some kind of kamikaze tendencies. Finally, one person comes. Some secret suicidal tendencies are there. Who else will come? And first of all, they will not be, logically speaking, there will not be any gurus, because as soon as the person said, Tattvamasi, oh, I am Ishvara, died. So there is no guru. How will there be student? Okay, even if you imagine, maybe Bhagavan will come as the guru, and the Vedanta student says, Bhagavan, since there are no gurus, teach me. And the student is enlightened about one's nature, died. This is not at the level of decimating the upadhi, despite a loda body, a body that is always on the brink of going to the hospital. despite a mind about which I can only say, never mind, despite the senses that drive me senseless, I am still Ishvara. So therefore we say Vedanta does not make you free of complaints. Are you? All my conditions will not change. No. Vedanta will not make you rich. No. Vedanta will not make me strong. No. Vedanta will not give me an immortal body. No. Listen to yourself. Immortal and body don't go together. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. That which is born is subject to death. So, so then what is the use? Why did you wait till till the last 3 days of class to tell me that Vedanta is not going to transform me? Because I wanted you to keep coming. Okay, yeah. I didn't want you to drop out. That is why I waited till now. That is, it is not at this level that Vedanta operates. Vedanta is great because despite a body full of complaints, despite a mind that refuses to function on command, despite the senses, despite a bad upbringing and a heavy unconscious, despite all the pains of childhood, despite all the difficulties of life, I am one with the whole. I am Ishvara. I am still free. That is freedom. And so, in this sentence, Tattvamasi, before we continue, I will just remind people we are taking extra 15 minutes every day from today to the 30th. Okay, we are taking some extra time to be able to finish this nice. So, this Tattvamasi is like an equation. So, how do you solve an equation? You go to one side and resolve it, you go to the other side and resolve it. Tattvamasi, this is what it is. You cannot, an equation is that of something which has apparent dissimilarity. If I say A is equal to A, that is not an equation. That does not qualify to be an equation. A is equal to A means what? You can see the similarities. But if I say A is equal to B, then here is the rub. Here, something has to be unpacked and discovered. Same thing in Vedanta. Just like E is equal to MC squared. What is the similarity? Nothing. Where is the identity? Nowhere. Not on the level of the apparent. The identity operates. There is no identity. Here there is one letter and E, and then there, yeah, standing for energy, E, and then is equal to sign. Equal to means they must be identical. And then MC, two letters, and then square on top of that. This has to be resolved. Similarly, Tattvamasi. So Tvam, you are Ishvara. That you, what is this you? And that is where the resolution takes place. The you is distilled to Satchidananda. You remove everything that comes and goes. And you remove the body, gone, because the body comes and goes. Cognitively, okay? Yeah. Cognitively. This is a cognitive exercise. The body comes and goes, check. Okay. So the body is not part of the definition of what constitutes you. Mind comes and goes, check. Okay. The mind is not what constitutes you. Because that you is that which is invariable after removing every variable thing, body, mind, senses, identifications, raga, dvesha, sukshma sharira, even ajnanam you remove, causal body, all that you remove. And then what you see is I am. I know I am. I know I am now. All you're left with is the awareness of your own existence, which is all knowledge and which is without a second, which is endless. Yeah, I understood I'm awareness. I can even stretch and see that I'm knowledge. But what is this endless? Are you here now? You have to say yes. How about now? Yes, now, yes, now, yes, now. Now you must be gone, unless you have logged out, but you haven't. So, okay, now, yes, now, yes, now, yes, now, yes, now, yes, now, yes. So I am is equal to I know I am, and I am is equal to I am now. And if you take a measuring tape of some kind and try to try to measure the word now. How long is now? What is the length of now? You will not be able to, it is immeasurable. Take, for example, some big party that is happening, some wedding party, and then, the wedding party is what? Uh, 250 people. We are projecting to post-COVID times, 250 people gathering for this wedding, and then they have hired a cook to cook. And the wedding, is at 10 o'clock. The lunch should be served at 12 o'clock, and the cook comes at 6 o'clock. And you ask, what are you doing? Cooking. They're not cooking, but then they are cooking. What are you doing? Cooking. 7 o'clock. What are you doing? 8 o'clock. Cooking. And even if they're putting some sprigs of pudina, seasoning on top of something on a dish, still that constitutes as cooking. What are you doing? Cooking. 9 o'clock. What are you doing? Cooking. 10 o'clock. What are you doing? Cooking. 11 o'clock. What are you doing? Cooking. 12 o'clock. What are you doing? Cooking. Now you're ready to eat. Cooking, 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 being, 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 I aming, I aming, I aming, I aming, I aming. Yes. What are you doing? I aming. That's all it is. Strange word, but as long as you follow something that, better, it is worth it. It is worth making a few grammatical mistakes every now and then deliberately. I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. I am, I am, I am. That's all it is. That is all there is. And this I am, the length of I am cannot be measured. The knowledge of I am cannot be measured. And therefore, this I am is without limits, limitless I am. This is the meaning of the word Tvam. After removing all the things, all that is left is a Sakshita. Sakshita means what? Sakshita means a witnessing. All that is left is a witnessing, and this witness happens to be without limits, other than the upadhi. And the one that can witness the upadhi, the one that is really not associated with the upadhi, without upadhi, one which is already self-standing. And what happens to the upadhi now? The upadhi is dependent on I. I am not dependent of the upadhi, just like the room space is dependent upon space. Space is not dependent on room space. Got it? Say yes, even if you don't want to, even if you don't want to, because you will follow it. You have understood it. This is the definition of I. And you can do this. You can do this. It's a wonderful contemplation. This is called in Sanskrit, in technically, as Tvam Pada Vichara. An inquiry into the word you. You means I when the person is doing it. You is directed to the student. The inquiry into the word I as the reigning master of the body mind sense complexes, who is essentially without form, without name, and who is essentially without limits, who is all knowledge, and who has a beingness, an awareful beingness without an end. This is the nature of I. This is the definition of I. We have resolved one part of the equation is equal to Tat. Tat means Jagat Karanam Brahma Ishvara. And this Ishvaratvam, Ishvarahood is also an Upadhi. Upadhi. It is also a container, so to speak, as though container to contain what? All power, Maya, Shakti, Upahita Chaitanya, Vidya, Upahita Chaitanya, all knowledge. And all knowledge, not just things exist, things don't exist, and I am aware of both, but all knowledge, knowledge of Chinese, knowledge of Greek, in terms of languages, in terms of cuisine, in terms of everything, knowledge of everyone's karma, knowledge of everything, all knowledge specifically of how to project this universe, this infallible projection of this universe. Based on what? Based on the last previous cycle of creation. The memory of the previous cycle of creation and the desire of all the jivas to be embodied to eke out and work out their karmas leads to this beautiful projection called the Jagat. It is indeed beautiful because it is infallible, and that infallible projection happens because of the Shakti, Maya Shakti, the goddess power. That is, it is one and the same as Ishvara. That is non separate from Ishvara. But the Shakti is also dependent on Ishvara. It is a as though power wielded by Ishvara, projected to the whole universe. That's why in the Hindu tradition, Ishvara is God, Ishvara is goddess. We make no difference. That's why in the tradition, all our manifestations are happily married. Yeah, to show the Shakti. And the Shakti and Ishvara can never be separated. It's all one, it is all the same. And what you did on this side of the equation, removing quote unquote cognitively the all the variable things, here also you do that. All Shakti, remove. All knowledge, of everything, remove. The power to project the universe and to take back the universe, remove. The power to sustain the universe, remove. And you remove all what is called six bhagas. Bhagavan means the one endowed with six things that are called bhagas. Bhagas means blessings. Six absolute blessings in absolute measure. What is that? Aishwaryam, overlordship. This is a superimposition on the Satchidananda. Satchidananda plus overlordship is Ishvara. And it's a value added plus. It's not an intrinsic plus. It is a incidental plus. Like, you know, gold plus ornament makes no difference to gold. Satchidananda infinite, Satchidananda plus overlordship, no difference to Satchidananda. Satchidananda plus overlordship, Aishwarya. Satchidananda plus Samagram Jnanam, all knowledge. Knowledge comes and goes. And Satchidananda, knowledge of objects comes and goes. The subject, Satchidananda, is intact without undergoing any change. And then what else? Knowledge, all Shrihi, all resources, and all Vairagya, complete uninvolvement with how the Jagat functions, complete non-partiality, non-choosing of anything. It comes and goes. That is Samagram Vairagyam, Samagram Jnanam, Samagra Shrihi, Samagram Aishwaryam, and then Balam, all strength, and then finally Samarthyam, the ability to project this universe and take back the universe and sustain the universe. This is all a value added upadhi laden on, as it were, to Satchidananda. And when you cognitively remove those qualities which make Ishvara, all that is left is Ishvara. What do you mean, Ishvara here, as in Satchidananda? And so this is what is one. So the Jiva hood is gone. Jivatvam is taken away on this side of the equation, and Ishvaratvam is taken away. All that is left is Tvam. you, you as Ishvara. This is at the level of which the oneness operates, not at the level of the body, not at the level of the mind. We have to transcend this, and this can only come from a sustained and a committed Vedanta study. Not kabhi kabhi Vedanta, once in a while Vedanta. No. Vedanta study. This is what it gives. This is the blessings of this Mahavakya. This is what is called Mahavakya, the pithy, small sentences of the Upanishads that reveal the oneness between Jiva and Ishvara, and that which is handled by the teacher to explain this in detail so that it is internalized and understood. And very beautiful. So the Maya Shakti is the key here. Maya endows Ishvara with all knowledge, and Maya, as it were, endows the Jiva with a dunce cap, all ignorance, sit in the corner of the room. And taking the dunce cap to be real, the Jiva cries, oh no, oh no, what is happening to me? I'm an idiot, I don't know anything. Let me, make me, Kalaya Jiva Ishvara Viveka Vidam, make me into the one who knows I'm Ishvara. The dunce cap is an as though, like in the what's its name? In the holiday season, there is a little red cap with a white pom pom, correct? Yeah. So you wear that cap, it's a festive season. You feel like Santa Claus. And even if you are very conjuice means parsimonious, you still, for the moment you are wearing the cap, you feel like giving gifts. It's nice. Then afterwards you take it off. Then you're back to your conjuice self. Conjuice here means stingy. You're back to your stingy, stingy self. So similarly here, the dunce cap is an as though superimposition on this Sachidananda that cries, "Oh, I'm sad, oh, nobody loves me, I'm an idiot, what am I going to do? Oh no." And then Ishvara laughs. Why? Because of Ishvara, Ishvaric cap. Ishvara's cap has gold, everything sewn into it. It's like a NASA photograph. All the galaxies are there. And then all the wonderful, the stars, blue dwarf, yellow dwarf, all these are embroidered on this cap. And then what? The Jiva here sits and cries. Jiva with a dunce cap full of tatters and full of, and the cap is too big. It covers the eyes and everything, cannot see, obstructs the vision. Jiva cries. And who do you think made these caps? Maya Shakti. She's the seamstress. She embroidered a wonderful cap for Ishvara, wearing which, I am the ruler of the universe. Look at my Aishwaryam, look at my overlordship. Yes, you want some money, tathastu, I grant. So much power. And then Jiva, oh, give me, with a begging bowl, give me, give me, give me. Oh, I don't have. That is also because of the cap. Ajnanam. When you embrace Ajnanam, you immediately feel sad. Yeah, this is not an embrace that one has. You have to do social distancing. Another word and meaning we have recently learned. You have to do social distancing from Ajnanam. Keep, keep away from me. Be gone. Ajnanam is Alakshmi. Yeah, we have this twin sister of Lakshmi. Alakshmir me nashyatam tvam vrine. Tvam Lakshmim vrine. I choose you, O Lakshmi. Please keep your twin sister away from me. We pray this in the Shri Suktam. Alakshmir me, for me, let this stinginess, let this raga, dvesha, and all this smallness, let it just go. Let it go so that I can see myself as you. Lakshmi means all shine. She's Bhagavan. Let me be you. This is what it is, and this is what Totakacharya is praying. Kalaya, Ishvara, Jiva Viveka with Kalaya. Let me know this correct Viveka, the correct way of looking at Ishvara and Jiva, which can only happen with your grace, which can only happen with the force of your teachings. And for these teachings, let me be open. And for these teachings, let me have, please, oh please, let me have a beautiful mind free of Shobhana Adhyasa, free of Ashobhana Adhyasa, and free of all kinds of, notions, conflicts, concepts. Please free me from the prison bars of my own notions, where the notion of samsara for me wrongly understood becomes the ocean of samsara. He's going to talk about that also. He's going to tell Adi Shankara, please drink up this ocean so that I can be free. And when is he going to say that? Tomorrow. We will see more tomorrow. And there is a question here. Does Advaita imply that God is a concept? No, concept means God is a concept in a way. So the existence, what I think God to be is a concept. God has a crown, God is male, God is female, God has a beard. All these are concepts. I am myself doing adhyasa on what God is. But this Ishvara is not a concept. Ishvara is the only thing that is. This Ishvara defined as Satchidananda. That is all it is. So Ishvaratvam is a concept. Jivatvam is a concept. And here that Jivaness is cognitively transcended. Ishvarahood, Ishvaraness is transcended. All that is there is I, and that I is Ishvara. All that is there is Ishvara. That's what it is. But then if you ask, how can there be Ishvara without Ishvarahood? you know, and that's a very interesting question, because here what we define as Ishvara is that Satchidanandam Brahma. That is what it is. So there is no Brahman without being Ishvara, because we live in a manifest world. No, but can I wait for an unmanifest world? Then you also will not be there. So all this talk is there. We are talking about it this way because we have a manifest universe with all the differences, the so-called differences there, that need to be cognitively accounted for. Okay? Yeah. God is not a quality. That which is without attributes is Bhagavan. No attributes, no name, no form, and that Bhagavan is you. Bhagavan is therefore Lakshanaya, is indicated through certain words from which the limitations have been removed. Like beingness. Being, we only know being to have a certain, what is that, year of birth and year of death with a dash in between. That's the only kind of being we know in the epitaph, you know. But here, the being is he always is, and is known as I. It's not a state, because if it were a state, it will come and go. That which always is you. It's not a state, it is you. It is right now you when you say I am, and when you say I know I am, and I am endlessly, I am, can keep on saying. And when you can discern that this I is transcending the body mind sense complex, in other words, transcending the upadhi. Yeah. Yeah, Ishvarahood is the ocean, not the wetness of water. Ishvarahood is ocean. This is the classic example. I always give it, but I ran out of time, so I thought, let me just not, talk about this today. So Ishvarahood is ocean. Jivahood is the wave. And then if I say wave is ocean, the wave is confused. No, I'm a small wave. I was a tsunami last year. Now I'm a small wave. I'm afraid to even go to the shore because I may not come back. I have no strength to come back. And then what? And then one guru wave has to come from the Indian Ocean, because this knowledge is from India. So the guru wave has to come from the Indian Ocean. You are not a small mortal wave. You are the ocean. No, no, no. Ocean is God. I am odd. Ocean is all. I am small. Ocean is cause. I am just because. If the wave were to lament like this, the Guru wave, this is the Shishya wave lamenting like this, the Guru wave will then say that what is the ocean made up of? What is the wave made up of? Water. What is the ocean made up of? Water. That water is the Satchidananda Atma. Ocean is an upadhi, all knowing, all large, limitless upadhi, limitless knowledge, limitless presence, etc. And the ability to make this universe, ability to make the waves, so to speak, rise. And the wave is a small upadhi, but what is inhering both upadhis is water. Okay? Yeah. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Om
Thank you,
Om.
Swamiji.
Om.
Thank you.
Take care. See
Thank
you
you.
all tomorrow. Yes.
Thank you.
Harihi Om.
Thank
Nice
you,
to see
Swamiji.
both of you. Very nice. Wonderful. Very, very nice. All of you have radiant faces. That is because thanks to Totakacharya, thanks to thanks to Adi Shankara, for whom this has been composed. All of you have wonderful, radiant faces. Keep smiling, be happy, and have fun. Okay? Yeah. Oh, good night. Oh.
Good night.